प्रशंसा हो रही थी।
सर पुलकित जी करके मत बोला करिए।
ये प्रोग्राम आज यूट्यूब पर भी लाइव हो गया है।
जी जी, अभी मैं
आज
बोलता हूँ,
जी जी
अभी ये लाइव चलवाता हूँ सर इसको,
जी।
1 मिनट में।
करो।
ये कह रहे हैं, ऋतु से कह रहे थे आज इससे बात कर लेना कि टाइम फिक्स करें, मतलब 4 बजे या 4:30।
मैं कहाँ पर, मैं अभी चला गया क्या?
बनाई जाती हैं, सेवाएं बनाई जाती हैं,
Auditor can be civil, criminal, internal or appointed by the
अब नेक्स्ट पॉइंट हमारा जो हमने किया है उसमें
क्यों कर रहे हैं? नहीं समझ रहा।
हमारे हिंदू समाज में 3
Window dressing implies window dressing implies window dressing implies
हाँ अब हो गया। ब्रजलाली को अनम्यूट कर दो। ठीक है। इंटरनेशनल फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम के आज दूसरे दिन आप सभी लोगों का हार्दिक स्वागत और अभिनंदन है। मोहम्मद अली जौहर विश्वविद्यालय रामपुर के द्वारा ये एक विशेष प्रयास किया गया जो कि रामपुर वासियों के लिए एक प्रकार से तोहफा है, उपहार है कि हम लोग एक छोटे से शहर में रहने के बाद भी इतना बड़ा प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर के विद्वानों को, उनकी सोच को, उनके विचारों को पूरे हिंदुस्तान के शिक्षाविदों तक, शोधार्थियों तक, विद्यार्थियों तक पहुंचा रहे हैं। ये संयोग का विषय है कि यूपी जनसंख्या के आधार पर भारत का सबसे बड़ा प्रदेश है, लेकिन चाहे रामपुर हो और चाहे शाहजहांपुर हो, ये दोनों उत्तर प्रदेश के छोटे छोटे नगर हैं और इन दोनों नगरों के नगरवासी शिक्षा के प्रति इतने जागरूक हैं कि अपने अपने शहरों में यहाँ के शिक्षक, शिक्षाविद अपने देश के लिए, अपने प्रदेश के लिए, अपने नगर के लिए निरंतर कुछ न कुछ कार्य करते रहते हैं। इससे पूर्व पुलकित अग्रवाल जी ने 1-2 दिन की अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सेमिनार भी आयोजित की थी जो ऑनलाइन थी, इसलिए उसको हम इंटरनेशनल वेबिनार कहेंगे। इस समय ये 7 दिन का इंटरनेशनल फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम चल रहा है और एसएस कॉलेज के द्वारा 3 दिन की कल से वर्कशॉप भी एक प्रारंभ की जा रही है जो कि इसके बाद में पुलकित अग्रवाल जी कुछ और लोग भी प्लान कर रहे हैं जो आप लोगों तक जल्दी पहुंचाए जाएंगे। आज का कार्यक्रम हम लोग बहुत जल्दी शुरू करने वाले हैं, लेकिन आज के कार्यक्रम के बाद विषय में मैं 2 बातें बताना चाहता हूं। पहली तो ये है कि आज समस्त को म्यूट कर दिया गया है होस्ट के द्वारा, यहाँ से सभी लोगों को म्यूट कर दिया गया है। तो कल ऐसा अनुभव किया जा रहा था कि बहुत से लोगों के घरों में बच्चे अगर बोल रहे थे तो वो आवाज़ें यहाँ आ रही थी, जिससे स्पीकर्स को और लिसनर्स को दोनों को प्रॉब्लम हो रही थी। अगर लेक्चर के बाद में किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना है तो उधर से हैंड रेज करने का ऑप्शन रहेगा। जब आप लोग हैंड रेज करेंगे तो यहाँ से आपको अनम्यूट किया जाएगा, उसके बाद अपना आप क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं। कल कुछ प्रॉब्लम स्क्रीन पर भी आ रही थी। स्क्रीन पे कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ रही थी क्योंकि स्क्रीन में एक ऑप्शन होता है जो पढ़ाई के समय काम आता है कि जो स्टूडेंट्स कुछ पूछना चाहते हैं तो स्क्रीन को वो यूज कर सकते हैं। लेकिन कल कुछ बच्चे शायद नासमझी में या शैतानी में या जानकारी के अभाव के बिना कुछ ऐसा कर रहे थे कि स्क्रीन पे प्रॉब्लम आ रही थी, तो आज उसको भी हिट कर दिया गया है। स्क्रीन को अब केवल जो व्यक्ति बोल रहा है वही शेयर कर सकेगा। तो आप लोग अगर कोई भी बात करना चाहेंगे, कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहेंगे तो हैंड रेज के ऑप्शन का प्रयोग करिएगा। अब आज का प्रोग्राम हम लोग शुरू कर रहे हैं। मैं ये हैंड ओवर कर रहा हूँ प्रोग्राम ब्रजलाली जी को। ब्रजलाली, प्लीज कंटिन्यू द प्रोग्राम। Unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. A very good afternoon to all the participants, all honorable guests. Hi, this is Brett, and today we are welcoming you in the second day of our online FDP program. This FDP, that is Faculty Development Program, is organized by Faculty of Commerce and Research Studies, Swami Shukdevanand Postgraduate College, Shahjahanpur, with Muhammad Ali Johar University, Rampur. This program is on contemporary issues, assignment, collaboration, research, and publication, scheduled from 15 June to 21st June. To start this program, I would like to invite Dr. Azra Shaheen, HOD Zoology in Muhammad Ali Johar University, to introduce the guest and for their welcome.
1 मिनट प्लीज ब्रजलाली जी। पहले हम लोग मोहम्मद अली जौहर यूनिवर्सिटी का गीत सुनेंगे जो प्री रिकॉर्डेड वीडियो है।
Okay. Sorry for the...
No problem. It's okay.
Okay. So please play the pre-recorded song of the university.
मरकज, प्यार मोहब्बत का मरकज, शान मुवद्दत का मरकज। मैं तंज़ीमे आज़म हूँ, तारीकी में नूर हूँ मैं, इल्म अदब की हूर हूँ मैं, तारीकी में नूर हूँ मैं, इल्म अदब की हूर हूँ मैं तस्वीर रोशन राह मरकज, प्यार मोहब्बत का मरकज, शान मुवद्दत का मरकज। मैं तंजीमे आज़म हूँ, तारीकी में नूर हूँ मैं, इल्म अदब की हूर हूँ मैं, तारीकी में नूर हूँ मैं, इल्म अदब की हूर हूँ मैं तस्वीर आज़म।
रेलाली इनवाइट करिए। रेलाली अनम्यूट करिए अपने आप को।
Yes, sir. Okay. Now I would like to invite Dr. Azra Shaheen, HOD from Zoology Department, Muhammad Ali Johar University, to introduce and welcome our guest of the Faculty Development Program.
अजरा मैम, शायद अजरा मैम ज्वाइन नहीं कर पाई हैं। ब्रिज, आप अपने आप इनवाइट कर लीजिए, इंट्रोडक्शन देते हुए वेलकम करिए गेस्ट को। अनम्यूट करिए ब्रिज, अनम्यूट करिए, पहले अनम्यूट करिए।
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I unmuted. Okay. So first of all, I would like to warmly welcome all the guests, speakers, and our chief guest of this 1 week international faculty development program. We have so many scholars to conduct this organization, to conduct this FDP, but few of brilliant scholars has given us time to organize to conduct this FDP. I would like to introduce their name. For the session of effective assessment techniques, we had already Dr. Ferdinand Eppel from Philippines yesterday. To conduct our today's session, solving and developing case study, we have Professor Rajneesh Ratna from Bhutan, and for today's session, we have Social Capital Potential Benefit, Professor Ermal Baino from Albania. For our next session, we have this that is on teamwork and collaboration, Dr. Suresh Kumar Chadha from Patiala. For the next session, we have self-transformation through public speaking, Muhammad Halbul Islam from Bangladesh. On the next session, the art of research presentation, we have with us Dr. Shad Ahmed Khan from the Sultanate of Oman. And for the last session, that is on publishing research papers in international journals, Dr. Zaid Ahmed Ansari from Saudi Arabia. I warmly welcome to conduct this FDP, all the convener and convener. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Ermal Baino for our today's session, that is on social capital potential benefits. Let me introduce Dr. Ermal Baino. Dr. Ermal Baino is a lecturer of management courses at the College of Business, University of Buremi, Sultanate of Oman. Sir has held MSc in Management from Canadian Institute of Technology, Tirana, Albania, and is currently pursuing PhD in Strategic Management at International University of Struja, Macedonia. Sir has the research interest in social capital as competitive advantage, organizational life cycle, dysfunctional bureaucracy, and customer behavior. To start our session, I would like to invite our today's speaker, Professor Ermal Baino, sir.
Ermal Baino, sir, please unmute yourself.
Hi everyone.
Yeah.
I could hear. Fine.
Yeah. You're audible.
Yeah. Hello everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. You can hear me, yeah?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, thanks a lot. It's my pleasure to be in your company and participating in this workshop. Could I continue?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks a lot.
Sir.
Hello, everyone. Wish you are doing all well and you are all safe. I am Ermal Bina. I'm from Albania, and my research interest is social capital. How can we capitalize basically on connections, and how can we use it as a competitive advantage at different levels. So this is a general presentation of social capital and potential benefits, and it is mainly of what I'm concerned the most, and is not a comprehensive basically approach. It's just my research interest. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So I can continue. And so this is mainly what I am interested in it, since I find it very intriguing and very interesting as a concept. So the general idea of social capital is that how to capitalize and how to derive value from our connections, and as social beings, we are social and political and social and by nature. So is it possible that we could capitalize on our connections? Is there value in those connections or not? And the social capital idea became very widespread in the early. It started in entered the academic domain in the early 90s, but the idea of social capital, of this which can easily translate it as group feeling, being part of a group and sharing norms and values within the same social entity, is quite old, by the way. It's very old, and it started in the Middle Ages. We will come to that later on. The idea of how can we the norms and trust and the network of individuals, they hold a sort of value. They hold in themselves a value, and they can be a good way, and they can be a good some sort of link to very valuable assets that you may not possess, but that your connections and your bonding with your community may be possible for you to access those sort of assets. So you not necessarily do not need to possess the assets or the value within the in yourself. Basically, you don't need to possess it, but you need to access it, and those connections may make it possible for you to access it. And yeah. A simple example of those relationships, that how they can return into valuable potential assets and opportunities, is when you need a new job, the first thing you do is just you explore your social ties. Why? For new opportunities. Not necessarily they will not be, maybe not within the first level of your contacts, but maybe within the second or third a deep level of your contacts. You have a business idea, you need an investor, you need a customer. The first thing you do, you try to explore your ties. And another example at the business level is Silicon Valley. For no reason, Silicon Valley is an area, is a concept, we can say, is an institution, and the way they operate, people and entrepreneurs which are located in Silicon Valley, the way they operate is just one of the components of their success is just by making use of social capital. For that reason, they are in the same place, so they can access new ties and new connections in order to capitalize on those connections. And is mainly divided. There are many components of social capital, but three of my interest, and then mostly scholars is the bonding capital, bonding social capital, bridging capital, and linking capital. And the bonding capital is between the members of the same community, whether it is a partner, family, working place, religious community. So it is a bonding capital, is a bonding relation between members which have high frequency of contacts, and they share the same practices and norms, and they know very well each other. And the second one is a bridging capital. It may be of similar people with you, that they lead the same life and they may have the same profession as you, but they live at different places and they work at different companies. So meaning bridge, that's why it's called bridging, because you are bridging a community, a social entity, whether it is an organization or not, to other organizations, to other social entities. And also linking capital, and that is the linkage between the link between the employee and the manager, basically at different levels. At level of the employee, at level of the president or CEO, and it's relatively difficult to have that at a higher level, because you need to surpass hierarchical differences. And different dimensions of social capital. I'm just going through it. Now, why social capital became so important? It became important because the economists used to evaluate the economic performance of different countries and regions the same way, by using economic variables. And the problem they face is that at the regions which have similar environment in terms of capabilities, in terms of resources, in terms of market, in terms of skilled labor, different countries or different regions within the same country, their economic performance was quite different. And that, if we use simple economic terms and simple economic variables, normally should not be there. People and environment with the same potential, with the same resources and capabilities, they normally should perform the same, but they did not perform the same. And that was one of the early researches of the Robert Putnam, one of the leading scholars of the domain. When he evaluated Italy, basically, he saw a huge discrepancy between the north and the south. The north Italy was doing fairly good, very well economic outcomes, and the south of Italy was doing very bad economic outcomes. And we are within the same place, we are within the same country, and the resources they had were the same. The market was the same, but the outcomes were not the same. That's why scholars started thinking there might be other variables and other components that may have some sort of impact on the economic outcome. For this reason, the economists they could not anymore ignore sociological values and social values. They had to look at it. But still, economists they tend to use economic variables and in economic terms to measure it. But this opened the door of the social scientists to see what may be the impact of social norms on the economic outcomes. And also, if we consider that the economic outcomes are purely based on economic variables, we face some very burning questions, which are why growth is not sustainable. And if we are doing well economically, how is it possible that we have undesirable outcomes? Why some outcomes are there that we do not like them, like inequality of income, social injustice, and social conflict? Okay, so another example or another proof that economic terms are not enough to evaluate economic outcome. And also, economics hold the idea that the human being is purely and exclusively rational, which is not the case. Human beings has been widely spread and accepted at a different level, that people are individualistic. Like individuals, they will act based on their own interests, but it's not the case. We cannot. Let's see, for example, what is the behavior of what is the altruistic behavior that we see everywhere in the world. We see in the Mediterranean, we see in North Africa, we see the Middle East, and we see in India, and we see in the other places in the world that we see a lot of altruistic behavior. So if that was true, we could not explain this sort of behavior only on economic terms. So it made it clear that the economic variables are not enough. That's why it comes into play. There might be some other components, social components, that might have an effect on the impact on the economic outcome. And Fukuyama, one of the other leaders in of the field of social capital, he came with basically 4 main points that may impact the economic behavior or the economic well-being of a entity, of a region, of a country. One of them was the impact the culture or norms, social norms have of the organization and production, and what is the attitude toward work of that culture or of that social entity, whether the society is able to create and manage institutions, and also the creation of social networks. Meaning what? Meaning there are some other components of the of a social nature that impact the economic outcomes. And we also, I'm just going through the definitions of social capital. I'm not going to read all of them. I'm just trying to mention the keywords, what connects all of them together. So the social capital is not a definition that scholars have agreed upon. So there is no one definition of social capital. There are many definitions because different scholars see different behavior of social capital, and they define it at different ways. But all of them, they have something in common. That is the social capital. Let me just read the keywords. That the social capital is the ability of people to work together for common purposes. So Fukuyama says that the social capital is the ability, social capital. So if according to him, if we were looking at social capital, what is it? Is the ability of people to work together to achieve common goals or for common purposes in groups and in organizations. Allow me just to go through them because the purpose of this will become clear later. And he also mentioned in another place that it is the existence of a set of informal values, a set of informal values and norms shared among the members of a community or a group to allow cooperation among them. So 2 key terms here is working together, meaning cooperation, and common purpose or common goal. So that's one of the keywords. And Putnam, he says that he puts social capital. It is the feature of the social organizations such as networks, norms, and social trust that facilitate coordination, cooperation for mutual benefit. Again, comes the keyword coordination, cooperation, and mutual benefit. And also another more interesting and very much adaptable, applicable at the organizational level, at business level, the sum of actual potential resources embedded within and available through and derived from the network of relationships possessed by an individual or a social unit. So social capital thus comprises the network and the assets that may be mobilized through that network. Again, we see here the potential, what the scholars see as the potential of arriving, having access on resources which are embedded within the connections, the networks, or the links. Again, this does not mean that having connections, the resources and the assets are within the meaning they reside, they are So the connection is not the container of the resources, is not the container of the assets, but it can work as a way. It can work as a road, as a path to the assets. So there is a huge debate. What is the asset? What is it? Where does it reside? Whether it is within the, whether it is in the connection itself, but it's most of the time is not in the connection itself. It's not in the relation itself, but the relation works as a road, as a path to achieve those assets. And this is hugely useful for organizations, because organization wants to lower their costs and in terms of assets. So if the organization will be able, through the hiring process, having employees of high social capital, they at a certain time, especially at the period of crisis, will have a higher possibility of accessing assets without holding them. So this is just an attempt to come up with what brings together all the definitions of social capital. Okay. Now, social capital is important also at the personal level. At the personal level, it is very important at personal level, as it is linked with longevity. So I'm trying to come with a few, let's say, with few levels of social capital, and then we will try to end with what I'm more interested at the management and business level. So social capital is linked, is related to longevity and low cause mortality, low cause mortality rate. And there are many studies. One that I choose here is that social capital, which is evaluated and investigated through the reciprocity, the level of reciprocity, level of trust, and level of civic participation, civic engagement in the social, basically, entities, social groups, is lowered with the is related to lower death rates, lower death, and the 70% of the members of this research, 70% of them, they were of the idea, and they had the perception that the neighborhood were willing to help, and more than half, 55% of the members of the neighborhood, they said that the neighbors could be trusted, and almost all of them had participated in civic. They had some sort of membership in the civil associations. But why do we mention that? We mentioned because we said social capital is not something easy to assess, because it's quite intangible and is very concrete concept. So we will assess it through reciprocity, trust, and civic participation in this context. So what was found that the death rates were lower on those people who trust was higher, reciprocity was higher. They scored higher in reciprocity, trust, and civic participation. And the mechanism of action, how is it possible now that this, it does not mean necessary, let me clarify, it does not mean necessary that the social capital is the cause of longevity, but we see a very, very strong correlation with that. It is very much related, to the, you find it everywhere when there is even in the blue zones, which are the certain areas in the world that they live more than 100 years. So the average of centenarians there is very high. They have very high levels of social capital. So the correlation is not just in one place; it's almost everywhere around the globe. And the mechanism that this social capital may affect the well-being and the longevity is the maintenance of health norms. So that may be some unwritten rules and unwritten norms within the society and within the social entity, this social community, that they are healthy and they are very much widespread in the community. And the community is contagious. The community will impact and will affect your way of behavior. So those might be those norms and those behavior may be exercising, maybe informal control over deviant behavior. It may be smoking, maybe drinking, maybe lessening the impact of those behavior. It does not mean that those behaviors, smoking and drinking, do not exist in those communities, but they might be of low level. And also the provision of mutual support and aid, which is a recurrent theme at all the longevity, all the regions with high longevity. So the provision of mutual support and aid. And here we have another example of the those blue zones. And the blue zones are some areas areas in the globe, in the world, that people live have higher life expectancy, and also higher life expectancy, not in terms of only just living longer, but living longer and healthier and being active until late in life. And those are the Loma Linda in California, is Nicoya in Costa Rica, Sardinia in Italy, Ikaria in Greece, the island of Ikaria in Greece, and Okinawa in Japan. So all of them, they have something in common, which is better relationship with loved ones, engaging with children. Some scholars think that engaging with children may be one of the reasons that will keep them younger. And a sense of belonging. All of them, they have a sense of they belong to a community, and they feel themselves they are part of the community, and the right tribe. And the idea of tribe being tribe or clanism or tribalism is also another synonym for social capital. So if we see the presence, some of the components of social capital are present, which is the better relationship, belonging, and the right tribe. The right tribe, why do we call it right tribe? Because the right community, because the community is contagious, the behaviors of the community are contagious. They so the same way good behaviors, they affect you, and you may be able to acquire them without knowing. Also, bad behaviors, they are disastrous for the health. So social capital is also related positively to mental health. And why? Because social ties, they are beneficial for mental health and psychological well-being. They function, the mechanism that may work positively to the mental well-being of the individuals are what is called the stress buffering mitigation model, stress buffering or stress mitigation problem, meaning when the person is under stress, basically, when the person is under stress, when the person is under pressure, just the perception of the availability of the support lowers their stress. And also in some sort of starts and coping mechanism within the individual. So just the perception of the availability of support, and that's very powerful. So only knowing that there are people around you, that they will be of help if you need, it will lower the level of stress, and also will start your internal mechanism to cope with stress as an individual. And the other mechanism is the main effect model, where the social relations have beneficial effects regardless the individual is under stress or is not under stress. So whether the individual is under stress or not, whether the individual is stressed or not, the social influence will have benefits on the psychological well-being of the person. And it works at different levels, at different pathways. The social influence of the person is nothing else but a normative guidance about the health relevant behaviors. Meaning what? That the being part, as we said before, being part of the community, being part of community, having you have a certain behavior, whether it is related to physical activity, smoking, drinking, or stuff like that. So you have a certain behavior as a being impacted, influenced by the social environment that you are living in. Integration in social networks, that may be one of the other mechanisms. The being part of social networks directly produces positive psychological effects and states in the person. So just being part of a social network, the person will feel psychologically and mentally much better. And it might manifest itself, this feeling better, it might manifest itself in the person as a sense of purpose. So the people which are integrated in social communities and social entities, and meaning when we say we are integrated, does not mean just being part of a society, but being engaged and involved in social activities. So they will have a sense of purpose, they will have a sense of belonging, they will have high levels of security, they will perceive high levels of security, and they will recognize self-worth. They will also recognize self-worth. So meaning none of the problems that are maybe one of the main reasons why people fall into depression and stress are not there anymore. And in return, it has another effect. The motivation of the person to care about himself or herself, it will increase. So these are some of the mechanisms, the social capital or the social being engaged in social activities, and basically social capital will mitigate and will eliminate, hopefully, the disastrous effects of stress and depression. And this is the example for you to go on later, the pathways, how it helps basically the person's mental health. As we said, the mechanism of action is what we mentioned before. What is that? Increased likelihood of just the perception of the being the help being present, the perception that the help, if you need help, is present there. It will be of a huge impact. Social capital and business management. Now here we are coming within our domain now. Why is social capital important for brands and business management? Now we know that brands are obsessed with some sort of bonding capital, if you like, and if you want to change bonding capital or bonding social capital into another synonym, you just say loyalty. So brands are obsessed with loyalty. They want their customers loyal, and they for the simple fact that the loyalty of the customers will translate into more sales. But the customers now are becoming very, customers are always smart, and they understand. And customers are now very much aware that this type of relationship is some sort of, it's not good anymore, because the companies are tracking their customers to the point that they may know about the customer behavior more than the customer basically knows himself. And that's not something that the customers wants to know. It is a privacy, is part of the privacy. So if, for example, you you want to, you don't want basically for people to read your behavior, but companies and brands are doing that. Companies and organizations are doing that. So if, for example, the customer, that sort of relationship become very much intoxicating, the customer will try to switch the brand very easily. Why? Because it's not comfortable at all. So what we see, for example, that you go online and you type, for example, type for the perfume brand, and you want to see, and or you type for a painting you want to buy, and you see later on within a day you see an offer or an ad in your email or in your Facebook page. So that is not something good that customer wants. They don't want to be tracked. And by doing this, the organizations and the brands, they it's very risky for them. Why? Because if the customers do not trust them, the customer will not release valuable information for the brands. So if there is no bond, there is no level of trust between the customer. The loyalty is not trust, by the way. So loyalty is I'm just loyal of to the product, but trust is much more than that. So there is a human component of trust, which is one of the components of social capital, and in many cases, social capital is evaluated by trust. Brands may lack valuable information. Why? Because the customer will not disclose all the information to the brand or to the organization or to the firm. Why? Because they don't trust them simply. So if there is something they do not like in their product, they will try simply to switch the product. Why? Because there is no human linkage between the customer and the brand, and for this reason, the brand will never be able to come into the reality, to know the reality, what is really going on, and with why our product is not being successful. And the only person who can tell you that is the customer. And in order for the customer to give you a fair and unbiased review, is to have a social bond with them. You have to be they have to trust you, and they have to be bonded with you. And they also may get other information that they may get from the customers, is that what the customers are looking for, in order for them to come up later on with other products that may be successful in the market. And they may also, while the brand or the company or the organization is coming with a new product, but is very much reluctant of hitting the market, and the customer, if you have a good bond with them, if you have built a trust relationship, your relationship with them, the level of trust in your relationship is very high, they may help you evaluate their product. They may give you information that maybe is the right time for you to hit the market, to hit the market. But you cannot have that one only if you have levels of trust, and also low levels of social capital, low levels of trust. Makes it some sort of a must for the company to use a lot of controlling mechanisms. So the company, if there is no trust, the transaction becomes very costly, becomes very expensive. Transaction becomes very expensive, whether the transaction is between the employee and the firm or the brand or whatever. So all we know that many people, they have many companies, they have a quality control unit. Why do they need the quality control unit there? They need to pay people. They need to check the control. But why do they need to check the control? Simply because they don't trust they do not trust the employees. So high levels of trust. So there was very interesting research experiment how the impact of trust, of the impact of trust, of the how successful the company may be just because of trust. We know that the companies they go through many crises. Though there is no one company that is smooth. They just start, they sell a product, they become successful, and that's it. It's like fabulous. We are living in the tales. No, it's not. The level of trust is always beneficial for the company. And here we have a experiment done by the Stanford University. They build up a website. They build up a website for photo sharing, and they manifested basically two different interfaces, as they were two different companies, two different brands, two different entities. And brand A, the way the customers, the consumers were dealing with them was very fun, lively, friendly. And the brand B was very serious, and the consumers, they found it very difficult to deal with them, not because of any special, but just because of the seriousness and the toughness and the lack of friendliness in the communication. And we keep in mind that the back office was the same, the database and everything, the back office was the same, but just two different interfaces appealing to the customers to different companies. And then themselves, they failed the website to see what would be the behavior of the customers. And after failing the website, brand B that was very serious in dealing with the customers, they never recovered. Basically, they never recovered. They could never recover their customers back. Brand A, that was was friendly, they recovered very quickly, and they continued and they exceeded the number of customers, and also the relationship for the customers got stronger. So if this is an epitome, if this is a synonym of the crisis that a company goes through, it is in the same way a synonym of what may be one of the solutions of those crises. So again, those building the trust that was built between the company and the customer made it possible for the company, for the brand to recover from a period of difficulty, from a period of crisis. So trust was the key ingredient that made possible for the company to succeed and to go through this dangerous period. So building trust may equal better opportunity, lower risk, and higher sustainability. But hold on, social capital is not is not quite a new concept. We find the social capital mentioned in the 14th century book, basically, of the Arab philosopher Ibn Khaldun, and he is a Tunisian philosopher who wrote a book about history. And one of the volumes, the first volume or the first two volumes of his book, he called it the introduction, which means the introduction to the world history. And this introduction was used as a framework how to understand the history. And this introduction eclipsed the history itself and became the main volume of where people focused in order to understand historiography. And what he said very strikingly in his book is that he said that social capital, and he used the word group feeling for that, which is in Arabic is asabiya. Asabiya means being part of a group, being part of a clan, being part of a tribe. And he said in the beginning of this book that man is political by nature. Man is citizen by nature. When we mean by political, we do not mean, we mean a social being. Political comes from the, if we see the root of the word political comes from the word polis, which means city, Persepolis. Polis in ancient Greek means city. So he said that man is a political creature by nature, is a political being by nature, is a citizen by nature. So the amount of the nature of cooperation, it is within man. You find it within him. So it's nothing strange for men and human beings to collaborate. So another observation that he had is that group feeling, tribalism or clanism, being part of a tribe, was the main force behind the rise and the fall of the empires. So again, he said that the group feeling of, if we loosely translate group feeling, we said in the beginning, social capital may be also considered group feeling, maybe also translated group feeling. He said that this group feeling is the reason why the empires, they rise, and why the empires, why they fall. And that's very interesting. And if we just change the word empire into organization, we may have another perception of that social capital now. We may apply that social capital into business organizations, business entities. Maybe that social capital may play a role in the rise and the fall of the business empires. Who knows? So, and he also said that this social capital is cyclical, of 3 generations. So this asabiya, this group feeling, this social capital is cyclical. Every 3 generations, they rise, and after 3 generations, they fall. You need let's say, some sort of trauma in order to build a new social capital. And he also said that those who have a strong social capital, they are destined to be to rule or to be successful, as long as they do not allow their individualism to be the reason of the group decline. And yeah, so to sum up, social capital, according to Ibn Khaldun, is found in his monumental book Al-Muqaddimah, which means the introduction to world history. Key points here to take is man is political by nature, man is social and cooperative by nature, collaborative by nature. Group feeling means being part of a clan, being part of a tribe, being part of a social entity. And this group feeling or social capital, according to him, is the main reason why empires, or in our case, organizations, they rise and fall. And it is cyclical, meaning after 3 generations, which he said 3 generations, 40 years for each generation, 120 years is the period of time, the time slot that the social capital will decline. And you will succeed as long as you have strong social capital. And at the moment you allow yourself individualism or self-interest to step into the scene of this group, of this social entity, or this organization, the group or the organization will decline. And cycles, as we said, it is 140 years. And this is the relation between social capital or asabiya, according to him, and the life cycle of the empire. So at the moment, at the flourishing point in time in the life of the empire, the social capital is lower. We'll see later why. And these are the steps. I'm not going to stop into them. These are the stages Ibn Khaldun mentioned for the rise and fall of the empires, just there for those who want to go through it so they can have it. And the stages are the birth of the dynasty, the growth of the dynasty, the peak, when you reach the peak, the decline, and the dissolution of the dynasty. So the birth of the dynasty, they have some characteristics. They have high social capital. So the birth of the dynasty, the moment you establish, the moment the dynasty is established, the moment the organization is established, you have high social capital. So keep at the back of your mind, not dynasty anymore, but organizations. So just keep it there. Think of dynasty at the back of your mind, not directly. Dynasty, think of it as a business organization. Think of it as a business empire. Think of it as a business as a business model. Think of it as a business entity. So at the moment the dynasty is born, is established, the level of social capital is high, taxes are low, but the revenues is high. That's very interesting. Taxes are low at the beginning of the empire, but the revenue is high. And that's very interesting. How is it possible? Low taxes, they yield high revenue. And many times President Reagan was heard mentioning that Ibn Khaldun like 10 times during his when he was serving as the president of America. And the reason for that is that low taxes, they yield high revenues just because of low expenditures. It's a period of time when the expenditures are low and the taxes expenditure are low, taxes are low. The typology of living, the way of life is not a lavish way of life. And then we go to other stages, which is the growth, the peak, decline, and dissolution. And just pay attention. Here we are. The life cycle of an organization. Let's go back. Life cycle of the empire. We have the birth, we have the growth, we have the peak, we have the decline, and we have the dissolution. Here we are. Very similar. Not fully overlapping, but very similar to the growth and the development of an organization. So here we are, the stage 1, growth, the stage 2, survival when you hit the market, stage 3, you become successful, stage 4, you become, basically you take off, and stage 5, when you maybe need to reinvent yourself. Here we are, another type of this organizational life cycle. And why do we bring it into this context? We bring it into this context because the stages are very similar. The stages are very similar. Allow me, please. The stages are very similar. The stages are very similar. So if you see in the beginning, think of Apple and think of Steve Jobs' meetings with his team. What do you see there? Do you see there a strong social capital? Do you see them a strong bond? For sure, you see that a strong bond. So do we have a crisis between one phase to the other? Yes, we do have a crisis from one phase to the other. So social capital may mitigate, may be some sort of buffering. We can use it as buffering, especially for the periods of crisis, which are very often from one stage to the other. From one stage to the other. So the point of the interesting point between the Ibn Khaldun cycle of the dynasties and the organizational life cycle is that they are very similar in terms of behavior. If we go into deeply, the beginning of the organizational life cycle, they behave very similar to social entities. They behave very similar to empires, if you like. Empire is a social entity. Organization is a social entity. So their behavior is the same. Their behavior is the same. And here I'm presenting you an open letter of Paul Krugman to the that time Steve Ballmer, the CEO of Microsoft. And also Paul Krugman is bringing into the scene the same author, or Arab author, Ibn Khaldun, and he says that he called this open letter to him, Steve Ballmer meet Ibn Khaldun. So meet Ibn Khaldun. And he made some very interesting points. He said that the points made by Krugman is that he said that Microsoft is still profitable, but because of the inertia gained by earlier successes. So Microsoft is still profitable because of the earlier successes. It's not because of actual production, or it's not adding any value actually, but it's just consuming the value they added long ago. And Microsoft, he said that they missed to understand the major shift in the technological landscape. So Microsoft was not able to understand the needs of the needs of the market that were in that time the touch screens and the tablets. And the Microsoft failed to understand those needs because of the earlier success. Because they were successful before, they were not able anymore to understand what were the needs. Like how does it play out? It plays out because when people become successful, they are not very much aware of what are the needs. In order for you to be aware of the needs of the market, in order for you to be aware of the opportunities around you, you need to have high level of social capital. Why do you need to have a high level of social capital? Because social capital plays at different levels. If you have, for example, one of the stages here, stage, right, let me just, all right, stage 4. If you pay attention, you have here mentioned bureaucracy. Stage 4 of the organization, you have bureaucracy. And what does come to your mind with bureaucracy? Papers, my friend. Everything that comes to your mind when you hear bureaucracy is just papers. And this is one of the reasons. And also, let me just mention that the level of social capital in the beginning is very high, and the level of social capital at the end of the company, at the upper level of the company, is very low. And that social capital, it comes with some expenses. Why? Because the sharing of information is not there anymore. The level of innovation is not there anymore. And the ability or the willingness of the top management to listen to new ideas is not there anymore. Why? Because we have now standards to follow. We have now papers to fill, and that's why that is the moment where bureaucracy sets in the organization and start basically destroying the organization from within. Because what is the job and what is the value bureaucrats add most of the time is not much. And also, Paul Krugman said that the Apple, Macintosh, Apple, Steve Jobs, he stay edgy because he was an exceptional leader. That is just one of the components, but also because Apple was a disappointment for a long time. Apple was a disappointment for a long time. For that reason, Apple could not permit itself anymore to be comfortable. Because of the failures, they were very much at discomfort until they found a solution. This is what made them succeed. So if we see comfort here is associated with reduced awareness, reduced social capital. So those people, let's go back again. Those people who were supporting you at the beginning of the establishment of your company, you as an entrepreneur at the beginning, you were supported by your team. Those, if they are there anymore at the period of time of the bureaucracy, even if they say something, the top management is not willing to listen. But that is a very high price for the company to pay, because social company comes with a huge social capital comes with a huge impact in new ideas. Keep in mind that when the organizations, they want to come with new strategies that are innovative strategies, what do? They bring the teams, they open holes of within the organization and put them together. Let's say research teams of two different organizations, say BMW and Toyota. They will put research development teams together in order to come up with new ideas. All right. So social capital, we see it is highly involved in being connected with others. And how does it play now within the COVID period? So normally we would think that social capital could not offer much in this period of time. Why? Because we have to isolate ourselves, and we have to distance ourselves, and social capital is totally against that, but normally it's not the normal behavior of social capital. So what can social capital offer to this period of time, to this during this pandemic? The communities with higher level of social capital, they have some qualities. One of them is that the community is able to prepare, respond, and recover from crisis. So if we just take crisis in general, and we will see examples later, the community that is high in social capital, they are able to prepare better, they are able to respond better, and after the crisis, they are able to recover better. And there was research made in during the period of SARS epidemics, Ebola epidemics, and Zika epidemics. The mechanism that the social capital may do that is by sharing information about facts or threats. So those communities which have a high level of social capital, they also have a high level of knowledge sharing, information sharing. That's why social capital is very important in innovation. So, so one of them is the mechanism that the social capital may help the community is by sharing information about facts or threats. Another mechanism that potentially works is that social capital enable members to access help, basically, whether it is financial resources or emotional psychological support. So whatever aid, whether it is financial, material, or psychological, social capital is able to mitigate and to be of a huge support. Basically, in the communities that have a high social capital, high levels of social capital, finances run smoothly, and they find, basically the neighbors will find the person who is in need and will try to support them. And also the communities that have a higher social capital, they have high levels of willingness to implement planning, to share the information and resources. So you may need to share, you may have the information, you may want to share it, but you may not have the infrastructure to share the information. But at the moment, at those communities that social capital is at a high level, the willingness to plan and implement the planning, to share the resources is there. So it's not, they are being proactive, basically. Also, trust is associated with high level of responsibility and accountability. So those communities that have higher levels of trust, they have also high levels of responsibility and accountability. So they are very much responsible. For this reason, they will self-isolate at a high level. They will it was found recently in during May or April, if I'm not mistaken, that those states in the United States, those states that had high levels of social capital, they had also higher rates of testing for COVID. So higher rates of testing, whereas other states that they were lower in social capital, they was refusing testing. Basically, they were trying to escape or skate testing, and they also are more responsive to social distancing. So it comes just at different levels. So they will self-isolate because of personal responsibility and personal accountability. They also will social distance. And here we are in the United States. The states with high level of social capital, they may have quicker policy response to the spread of COVID-19. Why? Because social capital is linked with higher political accountability and policy accountability, and also they are better to mobilize resources to foster collective actions. Okay, and also healthier psychological support for the community members. And this was the research done back in starting since 2003 or after that. That social capital and trust play an essential role in controlling the epidemics of SARS, Ebola, and Zika in 2015. So also so we have a fact, we have some sort of evidence that social capital played a role. It's not a reason to, basically, social capital is not the only reason to control the epidemics, but it has an impact on the spread of the diseases. And also communities with high level of social capital and trust, they had low levels of tuberculosis. And this is another example how social capital can mitigate the spread of diseases. In our case, even if the typology and the nature of COVID-19 is very strange and little unpredictable and not very well understood, and the people are spreading it in a way that is very strange. Basically, social capital, the way this is just my belief, that social capital, if that sort of behavior, high level of social capital and high level of trust, mitigated in a way or in another the spread of to a certain degree, the spread of other diseases, it will manifest itself also during the COVID-19 in different ways. And this is the graph that indicates the association between higher levels of interpersonal social support and fewer reported coronavirus cases. Basically, the states and the regions with higher level of social capital, they also reported fewer reported corona cases in US. Basically, that was all by me. Feel free to ask for any explanations. If you have any comments, I'm more than happy to listen and answer. I'm not able to listen.
Oh, man.
I can listen now.
Yeah.
Should I do anything?
If there is any
Participants,
question,
please raise your hand for your questions, and host, please unmute one by one for the
okay,
query.
okay. Unmute one by one. Mr. Dubyansh, please unmute one by one. Unmute to all. Is there any question from
Yeah.
participant side?
Sir, this is Dr. Abdul Wahab.
Hello.
Yeah, Dr. Bahab.
Okay, Dr. Thermal,
Yes.
actually, you have had a very nice presentation
Oh, thanks a lot.
regarding
Thanks a lot.
social capital. I greet you, first of all.
Thanks a lot.
And secondly, I would like to ask that we discuss about social capital regarding the brands, regarding companies,
Yeah, exactly.
organizations.
Mhm.
I would like to know that what is the application of social capital in educational organizations?
Education organization. Nice. I will just say my opinion about that is I cannot bring anything which is conclusive, but I will try to bring some interesting approaches that have been shown to be quite disruptive. And one of them in the education system is the Finnish way of education. So Finland, you know, that is a revolution in education. Yeah, we all know that. Yeah, Finland has very interesting story, and Finland is just the epitome and the example of social capital. And I will explain it in a while. Finland started very low in terms of education outcomes. The percentage of the population which were involved in the in basically that had a education was very low, and all of them, they had some basic vocational sort of training. And what they did, they disrupted all the rules. They did not follow rules. They said, listen, we know the needs of our country. We will try to fulfill them, let's say, genuinely. And they started the approach by satisfying the needs and they did not follow any guideline in terms of what we know from top down, basically. They from the government basically from Ministry of Education to the other education institutions. What they did, they decentralized totally the education system, and they made it. They gave free hand to the education institutions, whether they were universities or primary schools, secondary schools, high schools, whatever. They said, whatever you find that is needed for you, you try to meet that need. You try to satisfy that need. And in beginning of 2000, the first part, I think around 2009, if I'm not mistaken, Picasa, which is a body which evaluates the best education in the world, they listed Finland. They listed the first, and the Finnish themselves, they never aimed to be the first in the world. But the Finland was the first year, was the first one, basically the top seat, the top country in the world in education system. And they said, how is it possible? We never meant. And they just let it go. Basically, they did not give much importance to them. The second year in a row, they became, they still came the first. And they never aimed for that. And until they started... Until they started to investigate, how is it possible we are coming first? We never aimed to come first, so why did we come first? And they try to understand that one, and they saw that they had broken the rules almost everywhere in their approach to education. And also people from America and Canada. Canada used to be before them the first, and people from America and Canada, they went to and tried to investigate why is that Finland came first, and basically the development and the improvement came relatively. It took time, but nothing special. When all the rest of the countries, they were flat in the education, Finland was growing steadily. I will come to the points. Why social capital? How did they apply social capital? They apply social capital by decentralizing. They trusted their, let's say, employees, they professors, and they say, come up with the best, let's say, suitable and the best approach for education. And they also decentralization meaning
they made them independent.
Yes, exactly.
Or they gave the job to the NGOs.
No, decentralization means giving the full authority for policy making and the content also to the schools, whether they are primary schools, secondary school, high schools. You please, this is the situation. You see the situation in your area, in your region. Come up with the best solution for that. And if you see their guidelines, they are just 10 to 12 pages. If you see the guidelines of other universities, is like a 500 pages, catalog, which makes no sense. Why? Because they cut the costs, what we will call the interaction, the interaction cost, the costs, cut the cost by increasing trust, and they trusted their professionals, and the professionals came up with the best shortcut possible for their students. And I'm pretty sure you have in your country accelerated courses, don't you? You do have accelerated courses, yeah? Whether are they private courses or not. For example, let's say you have an accelerated courses in physics for high school students. You may have an accelerated courses in mathematics for high school students. Do you have something like that? I'm asking.
I don't think so.
Okay, in my country, for people who finish, let's say, high school and are about to enter the university, and if the university poses some sort of test before entering, the students may find the need to go into through an accelerated course, and he will go through the physics within a month, and he will go through all what he needs to recover from mathematics within a month. And strangely enough, those are very successful. In 1 month, concentrated work, you can make up all your problems or all your what you are lacking in a certain field. The Finnish approach is the same. The Finland use the same approach. I have this problem. My students are lacking this sort of qualities and knowledge. Let me solve it in the best way. And if you see now this sort of level of trust made possible for the professionals, teachers and professors, to come up with very innovative way of teaching. And none of them now is teaching any more subjects. They are teaching cases. They are taking a case. They are following a case, and they are trying to dive deep into the case in order, after that, all the branches of that case will direct the student into what we normally as institutions cover in a syllabus during a semester. So they do not start from top down. They start from bottom up. They start from bottom.
How is it possible that uniform syllabus will be implemented?
No, there is no uniform syllabus. They do not follow uniform syllabus. They do not have uniform syllabus because they are based on knowledge and skills. they are based on knowledge and skills, and they can approach the same knowledge at different levels of depth just from case studies, what we call case studies, but it's not a case study. They will take, for example, let's say European Union. They will take European Union and they will explain through the events and the activities of the European Parliament. Let's take European Parliament. They will take European Parliament. They will start from a simple case and the simple activity of the European Parliament, and will develop all the attributes of the European Parliament, all the scope of the European Parliament, not from the top down by telling them European Parliament is this and that, but by starting European Parliament, they had this decision. How is it possible they are taking this decision? Because they have the right to take this decision at this level of impact, and they have the right to, and they have this, let's say, policies and procedures, and they have this scope of impact. So all of this started by giving free hand to the professionals, to the professors and teachers, to find the best way they could meet a need in the how do you call it, in their education system in their region.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, most welcome.
Any other question?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yes.
Yes.
Sir, may I have permission to speak?
Yeah,
Please,
yeah.
Good evening, sir. It was very nice presentation on your part.
Good evening.
My name is Kamlesh
Thank
Kumar,
you.
and
Thank
I'm
you.
working as an assistant professor in Department of Commerce Management, Muhammad Ali Johar University, Rampur. Sir, I have I have noted down all the things. As you have said, social concept is a very old concept. It dates back to 1377.
Yeah.
My question is that is it part of like customer relationship is a part of this social concept, which is very old? First of all, first question.
So the question is social capital or the old concept. Is it related to what? To customer relations?
Okay. Customer relationship management, CRM.
Okay.
That helps in maintaining the employees list, like present and past, and that helps in maintaining the loyalty in the future.
Okay.
So my concern is that we as customers are directly or indirectly providing our information to the companies.
Okay.
There is no case of maintaining the privacy. In this case, with the help of artificial intelligence, companies know our interests, habits, taste.
Okay.
We use YouTube, Facebook, Google, install so many apps. We provide them permission to access all our everything. The moment we use this technology, we are prone to that. So to the third party information. And my third is that, as you have said, social capital and trust played a very important role in controlling epidemics like SARS in 2003,
exactly.
Ebola in 2014, Zika in 2015. So what role companies can play at this moment?
What role
you,
can
companies
companies
the
role of the company cannot be directed by you as a customer. You cannot impose the company to change their behavior. It's impossible. Not at least by asking them, not at least by having a discussion with them. Not the discourse between the customer and the company. I don't see it anywhere in the framework. The company should be aware that they should check themselves, and what may be the motivation for them to change is that they may lose the customer. They don't like it anymore to be tracked, and they know that very well. But you cannot impose the company. You can do nothing to Google. You can do nothing to these empires, Facebook and stuff like that. It's impossible. If they see, it needs to be in the strategy of the company. It needs to be in the corporate social responsibility of the company to change their behavior towards the customers. The customers are almost powerless if we in terms of individuals. You do not have much bargaining power with these empires, but the trend that may develop by the customers and the consumers, the trend that may develop if you have an alternative, it would make the companies think of a more human way of behaving with their customers. I don't see it anywhere in the framework of how can you enforce the company to change their behavior. It's almost is not there. The companies, what is, if we see the framework of the rise and the fall of the empires and the rise and the fall of the companies, it is a recurrent theme. It is something that is inevitable. It's not there. It's impossible for the company not to fall, and they will fall. What will be the drop that will basically make them fall? Is never one simple one component alone. It's never one alone. One of them may be the relying heavily on artificial intelligence. If you rely heavily on artificial intelligence, it may seem that you have utter control, you have total control, but it's not true. It's not true. You cannot. The people, if they want, customers, if they want, and if they see the risk in the horizon, they will be unpredictable voluntarily. So, and if the customer becomes unpredictable, the company will find it an urgent need to find the reasons why the customers are behaving that way. And by humanizing, as I said, the example is that the experiment of Stanford University is the companies, they will grow through crisis, and the best way to mitigate through crisis is by building trust. But I don't see as individuals until you build a trend of conscious and customers which are aware of what's going on. Companies that, or at least big empires, big electronic empires like these mega tech silicon trillion companies, they will not. I don't see any possibility for them to manipulate or change their behavior just because of no, I don't see. Sorry.
Okay, sir. No problem. Thank you, sir.
Any other question? Any other question from participant side? No. Brijlali, please continue the session. Brijlali,
Okay.
please
Yes,
continue.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
I have a last question, sir, if you allow me.
Please.
My name is Kaiful Islam. I'm working as a lecturer in the Department of Education at Johor University, Rampur, India. So my question is that, is there any standardized tool to measure the social capital of particular organization or institution, whether it is academic or non-academic?
Yes, there are tools, and the framework is the one that you see here. If you can see, so the social capital, you cannot measure it directly. You need to build a framework and to build a framework and to measure separate components in order to see what is the level of social capital. But it's not very much needed for you to go that deeply, because only the level of trust, the level of reciprocity, and the level of engagement will be enough for you to have a.
So we would have to draft our own questions.
No need for you. You can let's say improve them or change them, but there are a lot of questionnaires online for the and also a lot of sites that talk about social capital. So you have easy access on the.
Any one of them, please suggest. Sir.
Yeah, I may. Yeah, sure.
And one request, sir, one more request is that please share your PPT if possible.
It is, yeah, sure. I will send it. I will send it to the organizers, and they may send it to all of you.
Thank you very much, sir. It was
most welcome.
Informative.
Thank you.
It is all recorded program.
Hello.
Yes, Brijlali. Brijlali, आप continue करिए. This is the last question.
Okay.
Hello. Yes.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for such wonderful session and presentation, Professor Ermul Bueno, sir.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot. My pleasure.
It was really a wonderful session, sir.
Thank you.
And now I would like to invite Dr. Azra Shaheen, ma'am. First of all, we really apologize, ma'am, because you have different ID and we didn't recognize it. But now we want to invite you again to view your opinion, to share your thoughts of our today's session. Dr. Azra Shaheen, ma'am.
Yes.
Hello. Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Hello and good evening to all of you. And I'm also sorry that I was not present at that time, but I was present, but there was a mistaken identity crisis. So I was supposed to give welcome address, but due to some technical problem, I was not there. In your view, so, Dr. Mr. Albino, he gave a very nice lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Uh, it was very helpful, and it is very profitable for us in context of economic things. I am not from economics, but I know that your views are very valuable for us, and our university is very grateful to you. It did not went it went without me sometimes, but most of the time I was there. I want to express my special thanks to all participants, and especially Chief Guest Sir and Sir Anurag Sir. All of you are very efficient, and you carried it very well. Sir, your words are valuable in present context. I pray that this disaster, that is COVID-19, comes to an end very soon, and we can overcome the losses, sir, which we suffered economically and social front. I pray very good future for all of us. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, at the end of this session, I would like to invite Dr. Farha Rahman, ma'am. She is the Senior Assistant Professor in Department of Botany in Muhammad Ali Johar University, Rampur, for the vote of thanks of our today's session. Dr. Farha, ma'am.
Am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Audible, audible.
Okay. A very good evening to one and all present over here. On behalf of Muhammad Ali Johar University and Swami Sukhdevanand PG College, I, Dr. Farah Rahman, Assistant Professor, Muhammad Ali Johar University, feel privileged and honored to deliver a vote of thanks in this International Faculty Development Program. First of all, I would like to thank to our Honorable Chancellor and Founder of Muhammad Ali Johar University, Rampur. We all are sharing our views. I consider it a great privilege to propose a vote of thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Sultan Muhammad Khan, and respected Dr. Anurag Agrawal, Head of the Department of Law and Research Studies, and Swami Sukhdevanand PG College for providing us the possibility to FDP for enhancing
लॉकडाउन था लाया अच्छे लाते तो अपने को ले जाता पूरा लाता तो अब तो लड़की पूरे
I must mention my deep sense of appreciation for our today's guest speaker, Professor Irmal Bino from Albania, for kindly accepting. Who have witnessed it as a memorable and fortunate event. Distinguished
আমার ফোনটা তো ওয়াইফাই শেয়ার করেছি
the lecture very keenly and patiently and spending their precious time to make this call.
পুরো পেয়েছো আরেকবার দেখো
Their precious time to organizing this FDP and make it very smooth and outstanding. Without their efforts, it could not be possible.
Ma'am, we are not getting your voice.
मैडम आप म्यूट हो गई हैं, अनम्यूट कर लीजिए जी.
Program easy for all the participants.
Sound is not clear.
Please speak a bit loud.
पार्टिसिपेंट्स अपने आप को म्यूट कर लीजिए. फराह रहमान जी, आप अपने आप को म्यूट करके थोड़ा स्पीकर पास में ले आइए, माइक पास में ले आइए थोड़ा अपने.
Hello.
हाँ, यस. नाउ वॉइस इज क्लियर.
Finally, I would like to convey my sincere thanks to all the participants of FBT who made the today's lecture successful.
फरहान रहमान जी, आपकी वॉइस नहीं आ पा रही है.
For now, board of
Yeah.
thanks is over now. Thank you so much for.
Okay.
Sorry for inconvenience.
No problem. Thank you, Miss Farha Rahman. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Miss Farha Rahman. Dr.
Okay,
Farha
sir.
Rahman.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah. Miss Brajlali, sum up the session.
Okay. So we have conducted our today's second day faculty development program. Now I would like to end up this session and to thank all the speakers, all the faculties, all the delegates who joined our today's session. And how could I forget to thank our participants who made this session really great and motivate us to organize such wonderful session in near future ahead. Now I would like to hand over this session to Dr. Anurag sir.
Okay. बस सभी को नमस्कार. हम लोग कल 3 बजे फिर मिलेंगे और 7 दिन तक इसी प्रकार सबका सहयोग मिलता रहे. जैसे कि आज सबने बड़ा अच्छे से सुना सबको और बीच में माइक भी म्यूट रहे और सब लोगों ने अच्छे से अपने व्यूज को शेयर किया, अच्छे से क्वेश्चन पूछे. इसी तरह से आगे भी ये एफडीपी चलती रहे. इस उम्मीद के साथ हम लोग कल फिर मिलते हैं 3 बजे. सभी को नमस्कार.
सर
फीडबैक फॉर्म ओपन कर दिया है. आप लोग अपना फीडबैक फॉर्म भर सकते हैं.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.